Well, let's talk about the holiday season briefly, and then we'll talk about the product. I am curious, you've been at this for a couple of years now. Can you talk a little bit about how your preparation for the holiday season has changed over the years and how you actually assemble your team? What do you guys do differently to prepare for the holiday season? What does it look like on the ground?
It changes every year, depending on the macroeconomic climate, depending on consumer sentiment, depending on what's trending. We have to place our buys for holiday about a year in advance. So we are, ears to the ground, trying to figure out what's happening. This year was a very unusual year, as you might know. There was a lot of conversation around tariffs in March, and where there was like a whiplash effect. There was one day where we're buying a lot of inventory, the next day we're not, next day we're pausing, next day we're moving factories to a different area overseas, and then we're going back to the
this is around the time when you have to place the orders then.
Totally. And so, how many of which ones, and where do we double down? What do we do? What's the tariff impact going to be on the consumer? Where do we have the deepest margins? So where do we invest heavily there? Where do we maybe not invest in product where we have lower margins? I mean, it was a crazy time of year. And I would say the biggest headline is it was a big whiplash. There was no certainty, and we were day to day, things were changing until ultimately we just had to make a decision in around early April and live by that decision. And so we tackled this a little bit differently this year. This was the first year we decided to do a gift with purchase. We were unsure of what consumer sentiment was going to be 6-7 months later. So we launched a Birdies wine charm. So you get a free gift with purchase for every Birdies that you buy, Black Friday through Cyber Monday. We're all about the love of hosting and entertaining. So it's the perfect time of year to pour your loved one a glass of wine, have a Birdies ring charm, reinforce our marketing message of hosting and slippers and stylish flats. And incentivizing her to buy our product versus our competitors. And we did not want to get into a race to the bottom with discounting. We saw a lot of our competitors, early discounting, 30, 40, 50% off 2 weeks ago.
Right.
We did not want to get into that battle. So we went the opposite way, which is giving her more value than the actual product.
And sorry, just to clarify here, so this is because you conceivably have had more supply and you wanted to sort of get lower your inventory costs, essentially.
Exactly.
Got it.
We placed some big bets. And we also placed a big bet in making something just completely a surprise and delight moment for today, Cyber Monday. We launched a cozy collection today that we hadn't had in the last few weeks. And so I think the headline for us this year was surprise and delight. Give her something extra to help us move inventory, to remind her of the value of Birdies, the little extra, the magic that comes with the shoes. It's been a very successful strategy for us.
I want to talk about how you are approaching the different marketing channels. It's something we talk a lot here about on the information, the effectiveness of, Facebook and Instagram advertising, for example, how that compares and contrasts with affiliate marketing. You obviously have the decision between D2C and then selling through the platforms. Talk a little bit about how you think about your marketing strategy and what avenue is still the highest ROI for you.
Yeah. So much has changed in the last 10 years since we started. I mean, we placed a big bet on direct-to-consumer, pushing out the middleman. It was very cost-efficient to advertise on platforms like Meta. And I would say post-COVID, so much in our industry changed. Meta became increasingly more expensive. Wholesale became, a viable strategy again. And being where the consumer is, Amazon became just exploded in the last few years within, our ecosystem. And so we've continued to evolve and pivot. I would say we've made a bigger effort this year and placed a bigger investment in upper funnel marketing, just reminding the consumer of the value of why Birdies, why us versus everybody else.
Marketing, essentially.
Brand marketing, which I think for the last few years, we were so reliant on lower funnel conversion ads and those metrics, those KPI, LTV to CAC metrics. I mean, we were so in the weeds with that ultimately we decided we had to just go back to the basics again and remind her of the value of our brand, why our logo matters on her shoes, why we command the price point that we charge for our product. And so we launched a big marketing campaign about a month ago called She's Magic. It's a 1-minute video on the moments throughout her day where they could be, very busy and frustrating moments that suddenly wearing Birdies, she's reminded that, everything is better in the world of Birdies.
What about influencer marketing and affiliate links? Has that been a big boon for your business, or has the effectiveness of that declined recently?
It's all of the above now, unfortunately. I think to be in the retail world these days, you have to be a little bit of a media company.
Hmm.
You can't. It's not just one channel anymore. You have to have a little bit of everything. Affiliate for us still works very well. Influencer marketing for us still works very well. It's the platforms have gotten more saturated. So how do you break through the clutter even more now than ever before? And I do think a little bit of going back to basics. We're now on Amazon. We're now on Nordstrom. We just launched on Dillard's, and so we are really trying to diversify where she can find us more than just speaking with her on her mobile device and through influencers.
Right. Last question for you. When you started this company, I mean, shoes must be the most saturated market out there.
Oh
Maybe
my
second
gosh.
to flight tracking apps, which
Right.
we had on our previous segment. I mean, there's millions of those too. But what made you want to start a shoe company of all companies?
Oh my gosh, just insanity. I was at Facebook for many years, and I loved entertaining friends and family at home. And I noticed this white space that nobody had been solving, which is stylish flats for the home. Slippers were synonymous with bedroom, bathroom, and shoes were synonymous with outside of your home. But the
Hmm.
most magical part of life happens in the living room, dining room, kitchen, and there was not footwear for those moments. And so I thought, shoes have been made for hundreds of years. How hard could this be? Not realizing, the barrier of entry is very tough. You need a lot of money to be able to start this company, and here we are,
Right.
10 years later, and we're still fighting the good fight.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. Admire the fact that you've taken on the shoe market and you've obviously had some success in it. We appreciate you coming on and happy holidays.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You as well.